Hi folks, and welcome to Goodbye Knighton Heath Road. Welcome to our humble abode. Here in this humble house, I was born 60 years ago, and this is just a little bit of a story about me and the house. Here we are in the lovely hall. And this is the first and the most original bedroom that is here. This is where my folks lived, in this nice room. Back in the old days, I believe we moved in about 1953. And if I remember correctly, there wasn't a stitch of wallpaper or a carpet. It was all distempered plaster and linoleum tiles. When Dad was nearly ready to retire, he had an extra bedroom built. And you can see here, it's a bit of a extension on the side of the house, and it's a very comfy room. And very nice and quiet it was for him as well. He used to be in here, my mother would be next door. I don't think it was anything personal, it was to do with my mother's disability and they were unable to share a bed. But this is confidentially known as Dad's room, and very nice it is too. In the bathroom, things haven't changed very much, I'm afraid to say. It's still somewhat of a kind of a 50s thing. Your basic bath with a hand basin, and there was the big innovation of the 50s was the immersion heater. And there was a tank there where we used to enjoy unlimited hot water, which might sound a bit crazy in 2000 and nearly 11 or whatever it is, but it was somewhat of a treat to have the water on tap. Next bit, we'll have a look in the lounge, and this is where we used to hang out with a real fire. How about that? So in the very early days we used to burn coal in here, and I used to come home from school as a lad and we'd have some soup and make our own toast on the fire. It was absolutely lovely. And I was small enough to sit on that hob there, which was kind of a bit of a treat, because you could kind of warm yourself up. Of course, this was back in the days, years before there were radiators or anything, and all the heat from the fire was about as much as we had. My father was an avid DIY guy, and hence we have this conservatory. And I suppose I'd say it was a semi-professional job, because I think my mother's brother assisted and he knew a lot about this kind of thing. But it was considered a bit posh back in those days to have your own conservatory, a place to sort of sit where you were kind of not quite in the garden, and my mother used to have her friends around for tea and biscuits. And into the kitchen. Now, what's interesting about this is that it used to be 2 rooms, and you can see there's 2 doors. And the idea was that this used to be a bedroom where me and my brother used to hang out years before the conversion of the roof, which led to a bit more space. But it's actually really nice. It's a larger kitchen with all mod cons, and no doubt my mother had the pleasure and the enjoyment of the dishwashing machine, which in itself was pretty much unheard of until we moved into the 70s and it became more of a popular household item. I've had many a Sunday roast meal sat in here, and jolly good they were too. So moving on into the garden. And when we were kids, this level here was a bit higher. In fact, there was a little grassed area, raised grassed area and stuff. And the steps and everything were built a little bit later. And all this here dug out, put up the garden. And my father built this garage, of which there is a service pit for cars inside, and the sand that came out of it was used to actually build the brickwork for the garage, which he in due course did with his own fine hands. This is a sundial which I remember sometime in the 70s we came back and from London. I was working in London, and I think it was my parents' anniversary, or it could have been somebody's birthday, and this thing duly came from one of the local garden centres as a centrepiece in the steps. Why it survived, I don't know. It was something that my father was very fond of, and it does have a certain je ne sais quoi. Looking on the right hand side here, it used to be 3 fish ponds, and my father used to keep his own goldfish, and they would breed in there, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Now, when I was a kid, my father built this greenhouse up from scratch, and he always had some hidden agenda, of which he wanted to have a garden railway. And as you can see on the left hand side here, there was a station with locomotives that went out into the garden, and on the right hand side was my mother's bit, basically full of vegetables and tomatoes in those days, and jolly tasty they were. This used to be where the locomotives came out of the greenhouse and disappeared up across this bridge, and eventually got round and round. And a lot of the planting and the bushes that you see came from plants that were like free. When you, in those days, you'd buy a gallon of petrol and they would entice you into a free plant. So most of this stuff is been here for 30 or 40 years. It just started off as very, very small little baby things that in due course have become absolutely established and lovely. And we have our prized hydrangea, an absolutely magnificent specimen. And this year particularly glorious. And as summer progresses, it will eventually turn blue. And here there is a particular special Dorset delicacy, and they're called raspberries. Absolutely fantastic. There's also just loads of baby trees which my father would nurture. He would not cut them down. In his scheme of things, anything that grew would be left to get to maturity. And here we have, in all its magnificence, is a bird table that was designed and made by me. Because we used to have some dogs and things that have all enjoyed living here at Knighton Heath Road. It's goodbye and au revoir.